سلام به همگی، خوش اومدید به چنل ایلیا دارک. خب ما امروز میخوایم بریم یک ویدیو راجع به انیمیشن های ترسناک، یعنی داستان انیمیشن های ترسناک رو ببینیم. خب من این ویدیو رو از آپارات آوردم، از بعضی از چنل های آپارات، و امیدوارم که از این ویدیو لذت ببرید. من تا آخر ویدیو صحبت نمی کنم و میریم برای دیدن ویدیو.
My name is Arnie. A couple of years ago in the summer, we moved into a new house that was much bigger than our old house. The inside of the house was very huge. Everybody was satisfied with the house. But for some reason, I couldn't get rid of the unnerving feeling. One night, I stayed up late, alone watching some scary movies on my phone. All of a sudden, I heard what sounded like someone singing. At first, I thought maybe I was just paranoid, or it was coming from the movie I was watching. However, it kept going for like 15 minutes, even though I turned down the volume. I looked at my watch and it was almost 3 a.m. It sounded like a woman, and her voice would get very close to my room. Then it would slowly move through our halls. And then, after a few minutes, it vanished. I was creeped out, but I eventually went back to bed because nothing I could do about it. When I woke up in the morning, I asked my mother and sister if they had heard someone singing last night. They just shook their heads, and they even asked me if I was okay. I was puzzled by this. So the next night, I decided to stay up to see if the woman would sing again. Later that night, I was almost falling asleep, but then I heard it again. The time was exactly 3 a.m. I was so scared, too scared to go see who or what it was. I was pretty sure that I was the only one who was awake in the house. So I went out into the hallway quietly, and when I turned my head toward the hallway, I froze in fear. There was a woman who I've never seen before standing at the end of the long hallway and staring at me with a blank look. She was wearing a white dress, had long, straight black hair, and was singing that same bone-chilling song that I heard when I was in my room. I wanted to run back to my bed, but I couldn't move my legs for some reason. Then, the woman started slowly moving toward me. And what I noticed at that moment still gives me a chill to this day. She wasn't walking, but I could say that she was rather hovering a couple inches off the ground. As she was coming closer and closer, I could see that her mouth was almost ripping, and that was the most horrible thing I've ever seen in my life. I eventually passed out, and when I woke up in a panic, it was 3:30 a.m. I looked around the dark hallway, but she wasn't there anymore. Well, we still live in that house, and I've heard that dreaded singing from that woman moving throughout my house about twice a month. I told my friends about it, but no one ever believed me. I just hope that no one else has to experience this terrifying thing.
My name is Skylar, and this happened to me when I was 12. It was a Saturday afternoon. My cousins were staying with my family over the weekend. My parents had to head over to the store, and my cousins and I decided to go to the nearby park to play. Before we left, we made sure the door was locked like we were supposed to. However, by the time we came back, I could see the door was open. There were even scratch marks on the handle, as if someone had tried to pick the lock by force. My older cousin Sam called my parents, and they said they were on their way. Stupidly, we thought the intruder had left already, so we ended up going into the house. That was a mistake. My younger cousin, who was 9 years old at the time, had to go to the bathroom, but when he stepped out, his face was frozen with fear. We asked him what happened, but he couldn't speak at all, just pointed at the bathroom. I slowly opened the door, and what I saw made my heart drop. A blood-soaked man was dead in the bathtub. I checked if he was breathing, but couldn't feel anything. It looked as if someone had attacked him. My cousins and I started panicking, realizing that there must be a second intruder somewhere in the house. We cowered together in the living room and waited for my parents. When they finally arrived, they called the police right away. During their investigation, they found out that those two men had escaped from a mental hospital nearby. It turned out that they were both trying to rob my house when one of the men lost his mind and ended up killing the other. From that day on, my parents never dared leave me home alone. I always double-check the door before I leave. Now I'm 15 years old, and my family has moved to Florida. However, I don't think I will ever forget the memory of that dead man in our bathtub.